Since 2019, I have been consistently transferring my CPF Ordinary Account funds to my tertiary account. Given that I'm only 31 years old this year, this decision to transfer my OA funds to SA might seem a little weird, as I'm depriving myself of a substantial amount of money that could be used to fund my future housing needs. So why did I do it? Well, for 3 reasons actually. Firstly, transferring my OA funds to SA allows me to hit a full retirement sum much earlier in my life. Why is this important, you may ask? By doing so, it allows me to let compounding interest do its job to the fullest extent. Confused? Let me explain. Currently, the interest rate of the SA account is at 4% or 4.01 till the end of September. But let's just use 4% as a base rate for easier calculations. So given that I hit a full retirement sum of $198,800 at the age of 31, if you extrapolate this amount at a return of 4% per annum till age 55, I'll effectively have close to $510,000 saved up for retirement without any effort at all. Furthermore, the actual amount will most likely be more than $510,000 as there's an extra 1% interest on the first 60k of combined CPF balances in both the OA and SA. Also, do not forget, if I remain gainfully employed, although I'm not as of now, there will still be contributions going to my SA. Yup, unlike popular belief, the full retirement sum is not a hard cap on the amount of funds in your SA. This is why my SA is at this amount. So by transferring my OA funds to SA and hitting the full retirement sum early, I'm basically letting CPF do the heavy lifting for my future retirement needs. Besides using CPF as a retirement autopilot of sorts, I also treat it as a form of safety net. Given that my current investment portfolio consists entirely of individual stocks and REITs, I'm keenly aware that my investing decisions can go very wrong. Therefore, as part of a risk diversification strategy, my CPF funds act as a last defense of sorts for my retirement, ensuring that I can at least have a respectable amount to depend on in my retirement years. Yes, I could invest my OA funds to get potentially higher returns than the 4% interest rate of the SA. However, it does not make sense from a risk management perspective, as I still have to invest my OA funds in market instruments. So, to build my defensive mode as quickly as possible, I decided to transfer my OA funds to SA and let compounding do its job. The next reason for transferring my OA funds to SA might be a little controversial or even dumb to some people, and that is that I'm perfectly fine with funding my future housing needs with cash, or a combination of both OA funds and cash. The main motive for doing so is to accumulate as little accrued interest as possible. This does not mean that I won't be using my OA funds for future housing needs, but rather that I am more focused on securing my retirement first rather than my housing needs. I am also aware that after selling my property, accrued interest ultimately goes back to my CPF OA, and I can use it to fund my next housing purchase. However, my thinking is that if there's ever a need to liquidate my house for whatever reason, I'd rather have more cash on hand than gives me the flexibility of what to do with it. Also, although I've transferred a significant portion of my OA funds to SA, my OA is not entirely empty, and I can still tap on it for future housing down payment or mortgage payments if the need arises. Thus, this slightly mitigates the liquidity risk of using cash for my housing needs. So these are my reasons for transferring my OA funds to SA. If you're looking to do the same, do consider your own circumstances first. The transfer of OA to SA is irreversible. For instance, if you've only been working for a few years and there are near-term plans to get a flat, transferring your OA funds to SA might not be a great idea, as you most likely will not have enough cash on hand to comfortably build your emergency savings, invest, and fund your housing needs all at one go. My circumstances are slightly different, as I've been working since I'm 20 years old, and most likely I'll only be getting my flat at 35 years old. With that said, if you're currently comfortably servicing your mortgage payments with OA funds, you may consider transferring your excess OA funds to SA to earn a higher interest rate. But before you do that, do ensure that OA funds are sufficient to cover at least 1 or 2 years worth of mortgage payments, unless of course you are comfortable servicing your mortgage payments with cash. Finally, if you currently do not have enough cash on hand to build your own investment portfolio, you may want to use your excess OA funds for investing instead. However, if you do so, do ensure that whatever investments you make are able to exceed the 4% interest rate of the SA. Else, just transferring your funds to your SA might be a better choice. At the end of the day, I transfer my OA funds to SA after considering all the risks and drawbacks of doing so. While this may not be the most common thing to do, and it's also not commonly advised by most financial platforms. I will emphasize that financial planning and investing is very much personal. So, as long as you consider all options carefully and are aware of the risks involved, go forth with your decision, no matter how outlier it might be. With that, I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.